The Clippers, Jazz, and Heat have agreed to a trade that sends Norman Powell to Miami, John Collins to LA, and Kevin Love, Kyle Anderson, and a second-round pick to Utah. Powell averaged 22 points, shot 42% from three last season. The beauty about working at ESPN is you can just bring in the person that broke this story, our senior NBA insider Shams Charania, who joins us now for much more on this deal. What can you tell us about why both the Clippers and the Heat made this trade? And start with the Miami perspective.
Pat Riley, after all this drama that happened last season, he vowed that there would be roster changes for next season. And what they went out and did is get a major scoring punch in Norman Powell. He's a player, like you said, 22 points a night, 42% from three-point range last season. He was a borderline all-star. And so the Heat want to bring him in and see him fit long-term alongside Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. That's a lot of scoring in that backcourt between Hero and Norman Powell, but they really feel like he's going to be a perfect fit. They looked into a few other options at the guard and wing positions, but they settled on Norman Powell. And why this trade was possible for both the Jazz perspective and the Clippers perspective is I'm told the Clippers and Jazz were not going to re-sign both Powell and John Collins respectively to long-term deals. And so the Clippers and Jazz were both able to go get players that they feel will help. The Clippers wanted a lob threat, specifically for James Harden, and Kawhi Leonard playing more at the 3 and the 4 now gives them some more versatility with John Collins. So this is a team now in LA that's brought in John Collins, Brook Lopez. They're going to be pursuing guard help as well. So names like Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, Malcolm Brogdon, I'm told, are all on the Clippers target list if Brad Beal is bought out in Phoenix. So both teams felt like they were able to benefit, and largely because they were not going to keep long-term their own player in terms of the Jazz with John Collins and the Clippers with Norman Powell.
LA could also still be in the market for depth at the guard position, maybe a Bradley Beal or a Chris Paul to help solidify a running mate for point guard James Harden. There's just been a barrage of NBA news. You need to take a moment, take a breath. You need to which is what we're going to do with our Clippers reporter, Young Masuk. What can you share with us about why the Clippers wanted to make this move?
Well, certainly Norm Powell played his way into earning a new contract. He was entering the last year of his deal. Remember when Kawhi Leonard was out for the first 2+ months? Norm Powell played like an all-star as a starter, averaging 21 points a career year. But the Clippers are looking to get more athletic at power forward. You saw what happened in the first round against Denver. Aaron Gordon kind of had his way. Nikola Jokic as well. They needed to get more athletic. John Collins is a guy that Lawrence Frank just said on a conference call with reporters, a guy that they had kept their eye on for a couple years now. He gives them a rim runner, a guy that can be a threat at the rim for James Harden. He gets more athletic power forward, and as you said, it allows them to move Kawhi Leonard to small forward as well. And then his contract comes off the books. So it's a thing where the Clippers are trying to maintain flexibility, not only for 2 years from now, when Kawhi Leonard comes off the books, and James Harden is also aligned with that as well. But they now have a lot of flexibility next summer if another star should become available.
I don't want to talk about next summer because you mentioned keeping your eye on something. What other potential moves for the Clips should we be keeping our eye on?
Oh yeah, Lawrence Frank, right before the end of his availability, said, we are not done yet. They have a 5.3 mid-level exception ready to use. They need a starting 2 guard now with Norm Powell gone. So if a guy like Bradley Beal gets bought out by Phoenix, as many people believe could happen, well then the Clippers would be a nice landing spot for Bradley Beal potentially, because they could slide him into the starting lineup. The Clippers have a history of trying to get stars on the cheap when they are available suddenly on the market. Some of them have been past their prime, like Russell Westbrook, John Wall, or Rajon Rondo, but Bradley Beal would be a nice fit for them. And then also, Lawrence Frank also said they still need another playmaker. You mentioned Chris Paul and a potential reunion. He is out there, but they have a clear need at backup point guard as well for James Harden.
Yeah, you mentioned Bradley Beal, just 17 points per game last season. That was his fewest since 2015, but can still get a bucket for anybody at any time, rather. Young Masuk with the latest around the NBA. Appreciate you,
Sent John Collins to the Clippers, Norman Powell to the Miami Heat, and the Utah Jazz, Kevin Love, who's expected to be bought out, Kyle Anderson, who's expected to stay, and a second-round pick, your favorite, the LA Clippers 2027 second-round pick. I don't know what the Jazz are doing. We'll save this for the end. I mean, other than tanking. Let's start in the middle there with the Clippers. Clippers added Brook Lopez, and they added John Collins. Two front court players. They lose to the Nuggets in the playoffs. Obviously, you have to battle against Joker in that series. They bolster their front court, but Norman Powell had a great year for them last year. So they lose some of the scoring punch, but they get a little bit maybe more defensive-minded, a little bit more well-rounded. What do you think of this move?
I love it, really. I mean, I think that they're a team that does need some additional size, and more importantly, I think athletic ability at their 4 and 5 position. Lopez more of a guy that can stretch the floor, but Collins is a guy that can give you that like vertical threat. He's, I think, a guy that still has a lot to prove in a winning situation, in a good situation. He's been in Utah. People haven't been paying attention to really what kind of numbers he was putting up out there. They're in a different mindset. They're not necessarily trying to win games. Tough spot for a veteran player to be in that still has a lot left in his game, and I think he does. I like this for the Clippers, and I especially like it for Miami. I mean, what they picked up, Norman Powell just had the best year of his career. So you bring in another guy that can score off the dribble, that can score off the catch and shoot. I think a good pairing with Tyler Hero.
So before we get to the Heat, I want to stay on the Clippers. It might be easier just to do this one team at a time, and I'm going to stick with the Clippers here because, all right, number one, they bolstered their front court, as you just mentioned, and they have 3 true bigs now. Oh yeah, I love it. We got 3 true bigs. You're all good. He's got a take. He's got some takes on the Clippers front court. What's going on, big guy?
Hey, say hi. Say hi, all NBA.
Our first cameo.
Yeah, he's looking at himself. All right, you got to go, mommy. You got to go, mommy.
I love it,
See you in a minute, buddy. Daddy's got to work. You never know what's going to happen. You forget to lock the door, right? All right.
I love it, man. So they bolster the front court. They now have 3 guys to battle Joker. Collins probably too undersized, but we've seen small guys like that before. But the second part is the most interesting part here for me, Legs. And that is that last year, Kawhi Leonard played a lot of power forward on the offensive end. Yeah. And James Harden played a lot of power forward on the defensive end, just because every time they had to go small, it's like, all right, Harden, where do we stick him? Just put him on a big guy. He can guard the post, but that's still taxing. So now this frees those 2 guys up. So I think those 2 things, bolster your front court for the guys like Joker in the West, and then allow some relief defensively for guys like Harden having to guard bigs. I think those 2 things are actually huge wins.
Oh, I totally agree. And it's interesting, more and more teams, when we evaluate these moves, it's amazing how now the difference is teams adding size to their front court. And it was the opposite for a long time. Yep. More and more teams now understanding it. In fact, if you go look right now at the Clippers depth chart, if you pull it up, Kawhi Leonard is still listed as their starting 4. Like they got 3 wings, Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. And so you look at Zubac, Kawhi Leonard at the 4, and then 3 guards. So now you got Brook Lopez, John Collins added to that depth chart, and both of those guys are going to play heavy minutes. It absolutely gives you the luxury and the advantage of playing different types of lineups, and I think that's the key for the Clippers. There's no doubt this is a very relevant team in the Western Conference, but they didn't have enough. They've gone out and they have given themselves a lot more depth, and they've given themselves the ability to give you different looks, which I think is what this league is looking at more and more. You can't have one style or one size or one profile that you play. You've got to be able to mix and match depending on who you have to match up against, and that's what this is about for the Clippers.
And the versatility offensively is interesting because Zubac is elite in the short roll. He can make plays. He can post up out of the short roll, like just kind of seal his guy and catch deep. He can pass. He can offensive rebound. So he's a good short roll guy. You can throw him the lob, but I think he's best as a short roll guy. You could throw it to the post. Brook Lopez